Hello there. I'm coming to you from a part of our social hall that is really quite wonderful. You can see all the natural light pouring in, and there are all these wonderful little nooks and crannies that I think could even become little prayer spaces, perhaps. I want to also speak about this week's Torah portion. It's known as Chukat, and Chukat literally means laws. It begins with a law about the red heifer. The Torah portion, Chukat, spans 38 years. It's as though we had taken all of the building that has gone on here in this building over this past year and shown it to you in time-lapse photography. It takes place over 38 years because the Israelites had been encamped at Mount Sinai for 2 years. They begin to wander into the wilderness. Moses sends out 12 scouts, one from each tribe, to scout out the land. They come back with a negative report. As a result of the Israelites losing faith, God punishes them and says the consequence is that you will wander in this wilderness for the next 38 years. And Parshat Chukat spans that 38 years. In the midst of the Torah portion is a scene worth focusing on. Miriam, Moses' sister, has died. The Israelites are once again without water. They begin complaining to Moses. Moses goes to God, and God says, go speak to the rock. Moses, instead of speaking to the rock, looks at the Israelites, calls them a name, and then strikes the rock twice. As a result of this, God punishes both Moses and Aaron with a consequence that neither of them will enter into the promised land. Moses because he didn't listen directly to God, and Aaron because he didn't step up and stop his brother, which teaches us something, that witnesses are responsible. This idea of Moses' anger leads us to think about the idea of anger. And throughout the Talmud, throughout rabbinic teachings, the rabbis say, do not become angry. It's as though they understood what happens inside our brains when we become angry, that our prefrontal cortex shuts down, that our reptilian brain, the inner part of our brain, takes over, that we literally lose our minds when we become angry and we don't think clearly. This is what happened to Moses, and he suffered the consequence. But there's another form of anger that's worth noting, and that's what I would call passionate or righteous anger. Last Friday night, Rabbi Frankel gave a beautiful Dvar Torah where she spoke about Korach and said that he was a rebel without a cause, referencing the 1955 movie. And she said, we need to think about how we can be rebels with a cause. And so in particular, it's this idea of righteous anger. What can that lead us to? If the environment and climate change is your issue, take that on. If poverty is your issue, take that on. If LGBTQIA rights are your issue, take that on and come this Friday night as our part of our Pride Shabbat to listen to a young woman tell her story. And of course, if immigration is your issue, take that on. Right now, as we are looking at the scenes that are being projected to us from our southern border of children forcibly being ripped out of their parents' arms and being put into custody, of children being told, here, we're going to take you to have a bath, which is only reminiscent of what happened to our people 80 years ago when they were taken into Nazi concentration camps, being told you were going for a shower, but instead were gassed to death. If that is your issue, then call or write your elected officials. Donate money to organizations that are advocating on behalf of these on our southern border seeking asylum. Perhaps you might even have the wherewithal to go down to some of these facilities and actually volunteer your time. Whatever it might be, whatever you're angry about these days, don't just be angry about it, but turn your anger into something positive, into something passionate, and be truly a rebel with a cause.